Usopp's Elbaph power-up confirmed. Before we jump into this theory, let's quickly recap why Elbaph is so important for Usopp. Ever since Little Garden, Usopp has dreamed of becoming a brave warrior of the sea just like the giants. That dream has been the driving force behind his entire journey. Throughout the series, Usopp has never been the strongest Straw Hat, but he's always found a way to overcome the impossible odds. In Arlong Park, he outsmarted Chew. In Alabasta, he refused to let anyone mock Luffy's dream. And at Enies Lobby, he became Sogeking and helped Robin by declaring war on the world government. After the time skip, Usopp trained with Heracles, gaining the Kuro Kabuto slingshot and the versatile Pop Greens. And if you know those things what made Usopp a dog after that, which completely transformed his fighting style. Then in Dressrosa, he achieved his biggest power-up yet by awakening Observation Haki. And we've heard stories about his father who seems like he has a crazy amount, like from that one episode that we see, he has a crazy level of Observation Haki as well. So it was just running in his blood. So he achieved his bigger power by awakening Observation Haki, allowing him to make the impossible shot that saved the entire alliance and earned him the title of God Usopp. Since then, Usopp hasn't received a major upgrade, while the rest of the Straw Hats have unlocked Advanced Haki, awakened Devil Fruits, new transformations. Usopp's growth has mostly been on the sidelines, and that's just what hasn't been fair for any One Piece fan that has been watching to this point. We know that this is supposed to be the time for Usopp, which is why I believe Usopp is going to get his power up in Elbaph. But now, we finally made it to Elbaph, the one place Oda has been building toward for Usopp for over 20 years. If there was ever an arc for him to evolve, conquer his fears, and finally become the brave warrior of the sea that he's always dreamed of being, this is the one. So why does Usopp need a power up now, more than ever? The biggest reason is simple. He's fallen behind. Since the time skip, nearly every Straw Hat has received a major upgrade. Luffy awakened Gear 5, Zoro unlocked Advanced Conqueror's Haki, Sanji awakened his Germa enhancements, and if you've been up to date, not trying to be a spoiler, but it seems that Sanji's probably about to awaken Conqueror's Haki too. Robin developed her awakened Devil Fruit too, Nami gained Zeus, even characters outside of the crew have continued to evolve. Meanwhile, Usopp's true power-up came all the way back in Dressrosa where he awakened Observation Haki, and that was hundreds of chapters ago. And basically in real time, that's years. And since then, Oda has barely expanded on it. But this isn't just keeping up with the rest of the crew, it's about fulfilling Usopp's dream. His goal has always been to become a brave warrior of the sea, and Elbaph has been at the center of that dream ever since Little Garden. Oda didn't spend over 2 decades building up Usopp's connection to the Giants just to leave him in Elbaph exactly the same. I just don't believe it. I don't think anybody else believes it. But, just the pacing and the way everything goes, we just gotta see it. There's also the reality of the final saga. The Straw Hats are heading toward battles against the strongest forces in the world. The Black Bear Pirates, the Holy Knights, the world government, and eventually Imu. And if you've seen what Usopp did, Usopp rage baited Imu into pulling up himself, something not even the Revolutionary Army or anybody else could possibly do. Usopp did it. Level 10 5-star instigator. If Usopp is going to be able to stand beside the future Pirate King in those battles, he needs to become more than comedic relief or long-range support. He needs to become a legitimate threat on his own. And that's why so many fans believe Elbaph is finally Usopp's arc. This isn't just the perfect opportunity for a power-up, it's the moment where his character arc and his combat growth can finally come together. The question isn't whether Usopp deserves a power-up, the real question is what kind of power-up has Oda been saving for him all this time? Which brings us to this theory video that I have for you guys today. Now here's why my theory gets interesting. What if Usopp's long-awaited power-up isn't a new type of Haki, or an upgraded Pop Green? What if it's Loki's hammer? Alright, hear me out. At first this might sound crazy, but Loki has been built up as one of the strongest giants in Elbaph. And if he's fighting alongside the Straw Hats against Imu, there's a real possibility he doesn't survive this battle. If that happens, his legendary weapon would need a new wielder. especially because, like, just in general, Loki is already overpowered and is probably probably top three strongest characters that we've seen in this series to this point right now. So I don't really see it really feasible that Oda is going to leave Loki alive during this, because I don't, even Emu being handicapped, I don't see how he should be able to survive a fighting against Loki and a Gear 5 Luffy. But I don't know. Oda pulls tricks out of his bags all the time. But honestly, this makes more sense for Usopp to get Loki's hammer than anyone else. Think about it. Ever since Little Garden, Usopp has admired the giants more than any other Straw Hat. Their courage, their honor, their warrior spirit became the foundation of his own dream. Elbaph isn't just another island for Usopp, it's the place he's wanted to reach for over 20 years. If Loki recognized that courage before sacrificing himself, passing his hammer on to Usopp would be more than a power up. It would be the giants acknowledging that Usopp has finally become one of them in spirit. There's another reason this works. Usopp has always fought with ranged weapons. Giving him a giant hammer doesn't mean he suddenly becomes a frontline brawler. The abilities that the hammer has, let alone, gives him a wide range, and he's able to fight up close, far, even with some overpowered abilities like the ice. Oda could design the hammer to work with Usopp's fighting style, launching shock waves, returning wind thrown, or even amplifying his observation haki for long-range attacks. It could become the perfect evolution of his sniper role instead of replacing it. Symbolically, it would also complete his journey. The liar who pretended to be a brave warrior would finally inherit the weapon of Elbaph's greatest prince, proving he no longer has to lie about being brave, because he truly is. And in the final saga, where every Straw Hat is expected to stand alongside the future Pirate King against the enemies in the world, a legendary weapon like Loki's hammer could finally give Usopp the power boost he's been missing. Now, whether the hammer can only be wielded by someone worthy, whether it carries haki, or whether it's some connection to Elbaph's ancient history, that's where the theory gets even more interesting. If Loki's hammer is truly one of Elbaph's legendary weapons, then it has to be more than just a giant chunk of metal. And if Usopp was to inherit it, Oda would likely design its abilities around what Usopp already does best. First, the hammer does have a worthiness requirement. So it doesn't mean you just have to be physically strong, or you have to have some overpowered devil fruit or anything like that. It could be inherited by literally being trusted probably by Loki, or it could just be proved that Usopp is worthy of having the hammer. Second, the hammer can manipulate lightning. Elbaph has always drawn heavy inspiration from Norse mythology, if you know, and Loki's weapon channeling storms of thunder would fit perfectly. Imagine Usopp firing pop greens into the sky before calling down lightning strikes. That's creating a devastating long range of combinations right there. Another possibility is that the hammer also can return to its owner after being thrown. That will let Usopp stay true to his sniper style, throwing the hammer from incredible distances before having it fly back into his hands. Combined with observation haki, he'd become nearly impossible to predict, especially his speed of running away too. Knowing that the hammer's going to come back, yeah, that just fits Usopp perfectly. The hammer also can release massive shockwaves with each swing or throw. Usopp has always lacked the raw destructive power and shockwave attacks that allow him to damage enemies far stronger than himself without needing to overpower them. Kind of like how Nami has Zeus, and that's what gave her the ability to damage opponents way stronger than her as well. Usopp never had anything like that, and he's the only Straw Hat who doesn't. Frankie, Chopper, they all have some type of power up that they have within themselves that they're able to damage opponents stronger than themselves. One of the coolest possibilities is that the hammer grows in strength depending on its wielder. Giants could use it at full size, while it could become human size for Usopp without losing any of its power. That would explain how someone like Usopp can realistically use this giant's weapon. Finally, the hammer could naturally amplify haki. Since Usopp already has awakened observation haki in Dressrosa, the weapon could extend his range even further, allowing him to sense enemies from miles away, guide impossible attacks with pinpoint accuracy. None of these abilities would change who Usopp is as a fighter. Instead, they would enhance everything he's already known for with precision, strategy, creativity, and courage, while giving him the level of power he needs. One of the biggest revelations in the final saga is that Haki can be stored inside objects. We saw Joy Boy leave behind an incredible amount of Haki that remained sealed away for centuries, only to be unleashed after he was long gone. That completely changed how we understood Haki in One Piece. So what if it wasn't a one-time occurrence? What if the giants at Elbaph learned the same technique from Joy Boy himself? We already know Joy Boy has deep ties to Elbaph, and the giants have preserved stories, traditions, relics, all from the Void Century. If anyone could have inherited Joy Boy's method of sealing Haki into weapons, it would be them. This brings us to Loki's hammer. What if the hammer isn't legendary because of what it's made of, but what if it's been accumulating Haki for generations? Every king, every prince, every legendary warrior of Elbaph has poured their Haki into it before passing it on, making it stronger with each new wielder. So that doesn't even have to, there doesn't even need to be a lot to be said that if Loki poured his power into it, would make it probably overpowered. Something probably you could relate this to is like All Might from My Hero Academia and All for One, and One for All. Those type of powers that just continuously get stronger as the generations go, and as it just keeps going, they just get stronger. If Loki were to die in battle against Emu, he could add his own Haki to that legacy before entrusting the hammer to Ussop. In that moment, Ussop wouldn't just inherit a weapon, he'd inherit centuries of Elbaph's will, all tracing back to the technique Joy Boy first introduced in the Void Century. That would make Loki's hammer far more legendary of a weapon. It would make a living piece of history carrying the strength and will of everyone who came before, just like One Piece has always been about inherited will. And that brings us to this theory. Will Ussop get Loki's hammer? But what we think we do know for sure is that Usopp's definitely getting a power up this arc. Don't give up hope. If you guys like this theory, if you guys like these videos, leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. All right, peace.